Hey everyone, so today I'm back with another book review for you all, and today I'm going to be reviewing Invisible Monsters by Chuck Palahniuk. Now I read this book a while ago, so I'm not sure how accurate this review is going to be. I should have reviewed this sooner, but I'm going to try to explain the plot as best I can. So here we go. The plot's actually very simple, honestly. It's basically about this model that gets her lower jaw blown off in an accident. And after this, she obviously can't model anymore, and she gets put into the hospital, and she has to go through physical therapy and trying to live without a lower jaw because she can't talk and she can barely eat anything. She can only eat liquids, I think. So she pretty much goes from being a beautiful, successful model to being a nobody. And it's basically her trying to cope with living and also trying to figure out what happened and how it happened, and there's a lot of mystery in the book. And I really love this book, honestly. I think that Chuck Palahniuk is a very, very, very good author. He's one of my new favorite authors now. I will say, though, that this book was confusing at times. I actually put it down after reading like 70 pages because I couldn't get into it at first. And that's because that this book it jumps around a lot. So it'll like say jump to the Canadian border at one point, and then the next chapter it'll say something like jump back to Seth looking at my breasts in the rearview mirror. So it jumps around like that a lot. So it is kind of confusing at times. So that was why I couldn't really get into it at first. However, after you get used to that, you end up really getting engrossed in finding out why this happened to her and learning about her past and everything, and it's really, really interesting. It's one of those books that it has such a simple plot, but there's so much more to the book than the actual plot. The plot itself is actually kind of boring. I mean, a model that gets her face blown off and loses her modeling career, how exciting! But there's so much more to this book than that. Honestly, this is actually a satire, I would say. I mean, all his books are satire, I think. But it's a satire on the fashion world and on people that are, full of themselves, and a lot of satire in this book, which I really enjoyed. I really love the satire. It's fantastic satire. I loved it so much. And not to mention the complete mindfuck ending. Holy crap, this is one of the most mindfuckiest book I've ever read, and I know that's not a word, but that's the way I'm describing it. Oh my god, like the last whatever pages were just like, oh my god, it was so good. So I definitely recommend this book. I'm so glad that I read it, and I'm so glad that this is my first Chuck Palahniuk book, because I hear that some of his newer books aren't as good, so I'm interested in reading them. I am reading Choke by Chuck Palahniuk, and so far I don't like it as much as this book, but I do enjoy it somewhat, so I'm kind of thinking that the books that I've read anyway are a sort of boring setup with a lot of satire and a lot of meaning, and then, a really crazy, fucked up ending. But I could be wrong. I don't know how Choke ends, so we'll see how I like Choke later on. But this book was so good. After finishing it, I loved it. I do have to say, though, do not, and I repeat, do not look this book up on Wikipedia, because if you do, you're going to spoil it, and it's going to ruin the entire experience of the book. So do not look it up on Wikipedia. You will hate yourself for doing it, and you will ruin the entire book. So yeah, that's all I had to say about Invisible Monsters. I enjoyed it a lot. It was very, very good. Amazing satire. Highly recommend it. It is an adult book, so a lot of sexual content and violence and gore and all that adult stuff. So keep that in mind if you're going to read this book. But, it's an adult book, so you all know that it's in the adult fiction section. So I don't even have to say you have to pay attention to that. So yeah, Invisible Monsters, I definitely recommend it. So I hope you all enjoyed this review, and I will see you guys next time.